We'd like to hopefully keep the session fairly short. If we can, we'll keep it to 30 minutes. And but obviously, if we have time to answer any questions, we will at the end. And if we don't get to the questions, or we will we'll compile all the questions at the end and answer them in the question and answer document if we don't get answering them here this evening. So as I say, we'll try and keep this short. I have a brief presentation that I'm going to give, and I'm not too sure, Leanne, can anyone see that slide up there? Okay, so literally it's going to be as I said, a very short presentation. After I introduce myself here, as I've just done, I'm just going to pass you over to Noel Spillane, who works with the Irish Local Development Network. Noel is he works in the Southwest Kerry Local Development Partnership, who deal with the walk scheme on the ground in Kerry. We're just going to give you a brief overview of the memorandum of understanding that has been developed, and just give you really just talk you through some of the main points of it, so then after that, I will just pass you over to Emma O'Hagan, who is the Rural Recreation Officer in County Leitrim, who is in the process of organising the first National Trails Conference. At the very end, I will go through the questions and answers that we have. So if you have questions and answers, please put them into the chat format if you wouldn't mind. Sorry, Leanne, if you want to go on to the next slide. Just as a brief rundown as to, many of you will be aware of our department, the Department of Rural and Community Development. We are a relatively new department. We're only in existence since 2017, and one of our policy areas that we deal with is outdoor recreation. And within the department, we operate a lot of grants, funding schemes and different programs. But the two main areas that would be of interest to anyone who is involved in trail management and maintenance would be the outdoor recreation infrastructure scheme, which we call ORIS, and the walk scheme, which is the scheme that we will be talking about today. So ORIS is a grant scheme that provides funding for the development of new outdoor recreation infrastructure and for repairs, maintenance and enhancements of existing outdoor recreation structure in rural areas in Ireland. So that would be the scheme that many of you would probably be applying for through the local development companies or through the local authorities for either if you're developing a new trail or if you wanted to bring a trail up to scratch. So that's the area that you would go through there. The walk scheme is a different kind of scheme. It's a scheme that contracts private landowners to undertake maintenance works on National Waymarked Ways and other priority trails that cross their lands. So as part of the scheme, the landowners receive a modest payment for maintenance work that are undertaken in line with agreed work programmes. So today, the memorandum of understanding that we're going to talk about is effectively is ideally for the areas on trails that have the walk scheme on it. So it's for those areas that have the private landholders and are participating in the walk scheme. You want to go on, Leanne? Thanks. Now, I'm going to apologise in advance. I talk very fast, and I'm not awfully comfortable with giving presentations, but so apologies if I talk if I fly through some of these slides. The walk scheme itself, just as a bit of background, it's in existence since 2008. There are currently nearly 2,400 participants on the scheme itself. So they are all private landholders that are participating in it and agreed to participate and undertake work as part of the scheme. There are 80 trails around the country that have the walk scheme on parts of their trails. So there is a commitment in our new National Outdoor Recreation Strategy that was the strategy goes from 2023 to 2027 to expand the number of trails who are participating in the walk scheme up to 150 trails. So many of you will be aware that the department put out a call for new trails to join the scheme in early last year, we put out a call for expressions of interest for new trails, and with closing date for last October. So we're very pleased to get up to 63 applications for new trails to come onto the scheme, and all these trails have been assessed, and we're hopefully in the process to make the announcement of which trails are coming onto the scheme very shortly. We'd like to think in the next couple of weeks that'll be happen, and we would anticipate that as soon as the additional trails are announced, we'll also reopen the call for new trails after that. So we're keen, as we are with commitment in Embracing Ireland's Outdoors, to bring it up to 150. So there's still a piece of work to get to 150, and we obviously recognise getting them approved to be onto the scheme is very different from getting them onto the scheme itself. It takes a while, the process of actually taking these trails and getting them up and running and onto the scheme, and getting the participants paid and work plans in place is a process of work it's a big process of work for the rural recreation officers who are involved in the scheme. We might go on to the next slide, Leon, thanks. Okay, just more information on the walk scheme itself. As I said, it's funded through our department, the Department of Rural and Community Development. It's managed locally on the ground by 20 local development companies nationwide, and within those 20 local development companies, there are 21 rural recreation officers who deal specifically with the walk scheme and running it on the ground for the department. And I suppose these rural recreation officers should be a good resource to all community groups, as they're a full-time resource for the walks, and are supporting the walks and maintaining the walks. And I suppose we'd encourage you to actually engage with rural recreation officers, and they can be good support for community groups for applications and under ORIS, or for even advice and information for anyone who's interested in developing trails. And part of the walk scheme, if a walk comes onto the scheme, the rural recreation officers have to agree work plans with the private landowners for the section of trail that crosses their land. So I suppose the walk scheme itself is focused on parts of the trails that are covered, that are owned by private individuals. And as part of the scheme, these individuals agree to do certain works under the work plan in return for a modest payment. And then the next slide, please. Now, if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to just pass you over to Noel, who in the ILDN, just for a few minutes.
Thanks very much, Niamh. So look, good evening, everyone. And as Niamh said, my name is Noel Spillane, and I'm here this evening representing the Irish Local Development Network. I work with South Kerry Development Partnership. I'm the CEO of the organisation, and we manage the walk scheme in the South Kerry area. So look, I'm delighted to attend tonight on behalf of ILDN, and I want to thank the department and the other stakeholders on the consultative group who developed this MOU. ILDN, we were very pleased to have the opportunity to input, and I want to acknowledge the input of my colleagues on the ILDN Walks and Recreation Group, and they are Martina Early, the CEO of Roscommon Leader Partnership, Declan Rice, the CEO of Kilkenny Leader Partnership, and Maura Walsh, the CEO of IRD Duhallow. They reviewed various drafts of the MOU and inputted their suggestions. So to the various drafts. So I just want to acknowledge and thank them for their input. There were a good number of drafts of the MOU and produced and circulated before it was finalised. But I think this was important in ensuring that the views of and inputs of all members on the consultative group were ascertained, and I suppose enabling us to get to the stage where we could agree the final version of the MOU. I think the MOU is very, very clear and clarifies the roles and responsibilities of the local development companies and the trail management organisations. And both local development companies and trail management organisations do very significant work to support the 69 trails on the walk scheme. So I think this clarification of roles is important. The MOU quite rightly acknowledges the roles of the TMOs in developing many of the trails in the first instance, and in bringing them to the stage where they were eligible to join the walk scheme, and that's important. It also very importantly recognises the governance responsibilities of local development companies in administering the walk scheme, and the fact that delegation of these responsibilities having regard to good governance is not possible. In the vast majority of cases, look, there is good collaboration and cooperation between LDCs and TMOs, and hopefully in the few instances maybe where this is not the case, this MOU will help address these issues. So look, in conclusion, again, I want to thank all stakeholders, and I and my colleagues in ILDN, we look forward to continuing to work with the TMOs, the department, and the various other stakeholders in supporting our trails. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Leanne. Thanks, Leanne. And I'll run you through a few slides now just of the MOU itself, the Memorandum of Understanding, and just a few of the highlights that have been developed in it. I know it has been circulated, and it was only circulated in the last short while. Apologies for that. We had anticipated that it would be circulated before this, but it has been circulated to everyone on the list that was due to attend, and it's up on gov.ie, and it's available to be seen there. And I suppose before we start, I just want to acknowledge what Noel has said, and appreciate his cooperation in all this, and the ILDN and the local development companies. And but I also really want to acknowledge the contribution of the landholders and the community groups and trail management organisations for all they've worked, all the work they've done over the last number of years on trails, and for allowing trails to be crossing their lands, and for participating in the walk scheme, and ensuring that their dedication and commitment has ensured that numerous trails have been developed over the last few years and have been maintained to a very high standard. So before we start, I just want to acknowledge that, and just to reassure everyone that we're very aware of their contribution to the trails around the country, and also to the walk scheme, which we were talking about here. So thanks, Leanne. If you want to go on to the next slide, if you want. And just as a bit of background as to why we are here and why we have a memorandum of why we're circulating memorandum of understanding. Going back a number of years, in 2021, there was a review, an independent review undertaken on the walk scheme. As we said, the walk scheme is in place since 2008. So by 2021, it was there a good number of years. And one of the findings that came out of that review was that trails in Ireland had largely been developed, managed, and maintained by local community groups. But when the trails come onto the walk scheme, it raised several issues for community groups, including a confusion in roles and responsibilities, liabilities, and funding. So the recommendation that came out in response to that finding was that we should develop a written template to clarify roles and responsibilities between the local development companies and the local community group. Len, if you'd mind going on to the next one. We also have a commitment, I may have mentioned earlier on, we have a commitment under Embracing Ireland's Outdoors, the National Outdoor Recreation Strategy, to clarify the role of trail management organisations, private landowners, and local development companies in the development, management, and maintenance of trails under the walk scheme. So between the two, between the walk scheme review and the fact that it is in action under the National Outdoor Recreation Strategy, we felt there was a need to put in place, put a written document in place that would clarify the roles. Thanks, Leanne. If you want to go on to the next one. So as part of the process to develop the Memorandum of Understanding, a consultative group was established, and the members of the group were the department itself, the Department of Rural and Community Development. There was 3 community trail management organisations representatives on it. There was a representative from the local development companies. There was a rural recreation officer, a representative from Fáilte Ireland and Sport Ireland, a representative from the Irish Farmers Association and Aquiltia. All these parties would be actively involved in the walk scheme and had a good contribution to make for towards the development of the MOU itself. Do you want to move on there, Leanne? Thanks. So I suppose just from the outset, the Memorandum of Understanding is a voluntary agreement, so it's there as a resource for groups to use if they need it. In a lot of cases, they may not necessarily need it, and if that's the case, that's perfectly fine. But I suppose we wanted to put it there as a resource for the groups that do need it. And I suppose what it's only doing is formalising the processes that are already in place. As it is, it's an attempt to give clarity on the roles, and also it's been developed for the benefit of both parties. So as I said, it's intended as a resource or a tool to help trails or community groups that want a bit of clarity on what their role is and the role of the local development company. And hopefully it would be intended to be a resource for any new trails coming onto the scheme. So in a lot of cases, there is a very good relationship between local development companies and community groups and trail management organisations, and as we say, it's voluntary. If a group feel the need or want to put it in place, it's totally up to themselves to do it. But as you said, it is a voluntary arrangement, and it is to cover the areas on a trail that are on the walk scheme itself. So obviously, if areas outside the walk scheme want to use it, that's not an issue, but it is intended for the areas on the trail that are covered on the walk scheme. You want to go on there, Leah? Thanks. Okay, this is just some text taken from the agreement itself, and you'll see from it it's effectively stating that this agreement does not change the ownership of the materials on the trail that are supplied by the trail management organisation. So the idea behind it is that we fully recognise that trail management organisations and community groups have put a lot of work and resources into bringing the trails up to the standard they are at the moment. So we fully recognise this. We would encourage all groups to do an asset register to keep a tally of what is on the trail and what has been put on the trail. And as part of the Memorandum of Understanding process, we would encourage that an asset register will be put in place, so that just to recognise the fact that the lot of the equipment or materials on the trail have been supplied by the trail management organisation. And I suppose this, the whole idea behind the MOU would be that this isn't about local development companies taking over control and ownership of the assets that are on the trail. We probably recognise that these assets do belong to the trail management organisation or the community group, and that is the way it is. Next slide, Leanne, please. Another point to note, another extract from the agreement itself, is that the local development company and which generally will be the rural recreation officer and the trail management organisation should come together to review the trail management plan for the trail once a trail has been approved to join the walk scheme. So we fully recognise that trails will have to get onto the Sport Ireland register. The trail will have a trail management plan in place already, but when walk scheme part of the trail has become on, it's important that the two groups come together and review the trail management plan to taking into account the fact that this element of the trail is now on the walk scheme. Apologies. Leanne, do you want to move on? Thanks. the main points to come out of the MOU is that the document itself, this is the first time we've issued an MOU, and we've given commitments that it will be reviewed after 12 months. It will be we fully recognise that there may be item areas in it that may need to be changed, but I suppose a lot of work has gone into drafting the document as it is, and as you saw, there was a lot of different parties involved in the process. But we recognise that it may need to change. It'll be a working document. It'll change with time, and as things progress, there may need to be additions or edits to the document as we go along. We keep reiterating the point that this is a voluntary agreement. Justice trail management organisations and local development companies to help manage their trails with any trails that they have with an approved walk scheme on it. So it's for, we would have intended this for the benefit of all. We wouldn't have thought that this will be a major additional piece of work that for companies, for organisations, that it would give a bit of clarity to the roles and give a bit of reassurances to groups as to what areas of works that they need to focus on, and what areas of works, other areas, what other areas are being covered by other from the RO or from other areas. So it's just try and give a bit of clarity for all parties concerned. And I suppose it was recommended for the benefit of the trail management organisation in the review. So it was intended as a benefit for them. Apologies, Leanne, can you move on? Thanks. Sorry. So really, sorry, I'm going to hand you over to Emma for a few minutes, just to give you a bit of information on the National Trails Conference that is being operated, that is being worked on at the moment.
Emma, you're on mute there. You'll probably have to just remove mute.
Hello, hi. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Thanks.
I'm having one of those days with internet in and out, and I felt for you, Niamh, at the start there when you couldn't share screen, and no doubt I'll have the same issue. But I'll give it a go, and hopefully the internet will be strong enough. So if you can just bear with me for a wee second, I'll try and get the screen share. Okay, how are we looking there?
Yeah, we can see that. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So thanks so much, Leon, for the chance to actually get to speak to you guys about the National Trails Conference. As you know, I'm the Rural Recreation Officer for Leitrim, and the National Trails Conference is being led by myself on behalf of Leitrim Development Company, in conjunction with the rest of the RROs, the Rural Recreation Officers around the country, as part of the ILDN network. So I'm delighted to be hosting this conference in Leitrim, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about that, if that's okay. So this is Ireland's first National Trails Conference, and it's going to highlight the positive impact of the recreational trails and paths that we have in Ireland, and that the impact that it has on the Irish communities. Just a moment there for the logo, which we've just had freshly designed. I think the feedback has been fantastic about it. It kind of covers all elements of our trail network, the biking, the kayaking, and the walkers. We also have a save the date, which I'll be circulating over the coming days and weeks, and so I might try and get that circulated with the minutes for this evening as well, if that's okay. So the dates basically are from the 31st of August to the 3rd of September. So if you can keep a note of those dates, that'd be fantastic. And I'll just go into further detail on the overview of the conference in later slides. But basically, it's a 4-day conference, and I'll go into more detail now. So the conference itself, I suppose, is going to be of interest to a range of different stakeholders. There'll be the likes of the trail management group. There'll be community groups like yourselves that have worked on trails previously and continue to do great work. We will have the likes of the different stakeholders in the governing body. So the likes of the department, Quilcha, Waterways Ireland, Fáilte Ireland. There'll be a whole host of different stakeholders that this would be of interest for. We'll be hearing from our community, so be built trail, be a whole speakers there, professionals in the industry. Be speaking with trail management group and just sort of build trail, for example. I'm sure with the Croagh Patrick restoration that took in Mayo, demonstration of a restoration of a trail. So we'll have somebody from there to speak about that. There'll be loads of chances there to sort of explore the benefits of share your knowledge, best practice, along experiencing beautiful, lovely Leitrim and its tourist assets and trails. So to kick it off, we have day one, which is actually going to be a collaboration. It's a hugely successful. We've had 2,000 people attending, 34 kilometers. Amazing. So yeah, we're really delighted to be collaborating with them and their community group as well. Organize that it's non-profit, and they also give some money to charity as well. So we'll be crossing through the Leitrim Way. Those are the 2 walks that I'm responsible for, and also we'll go through the Blue Way. So then we're on to the event, the Sunday, and on the Sunday then we'll have a range of different Leitrim and Cavan and all. So we'll have a few different excursions on offer. They've yet to be finalised, but we're basically going to be working with providers in the area to provide excursions like supping, surfing, canoe. There's loads of maybe trail as well. There's loads of different options, and I suppose we're just working. You get tuned for more information on that. And then I suppose we're on to day 3 and day 4 of the event, which is, and that's I suppose where we're looking at a different sort of range of people that will come to this. So in Carrick-on-Shannon, and that will have an opportunity to hear from speakers and attend trail building, enjoy our and meet suppliers that provide us with the materials that we use for our trails and people that we work with on a day-to-day basis. And just in relation to you maybe the sheep wool trail that made it to the news last year, I think it was, to serve for a lot of people. So I'd love to do a demonstration on the and how to go about building that. I'm sure it might be of an interest. So yeah, they'll be out and they'll be inspiration and with them with the discussions. It's like to just get perspective on why we've decided to host. Every year there is a World Trails Conference which takes place in different countries of the globe, and my predecessor one of these conferences, and there's no reason couldn't potentially host one of these conferences in the future. Ireland has everything that is in terms of the Trails Conference. So I suppose in order to do that, we needed to start somewhere. And this National Trails Conference is the start. Will become a bigger thing in the future, and it will demonstrate our ability to potentially the world's trails in a later stage. So what's, I suppose, at the moment we have a committee of 12 recreational officers oversee the project's development, and then we feed that back to the steering committee, which has different stakeholders, speakers and activity providers, also corporate outdoor, the lineup for the event. So if you are interested in getting involved in any way, I'd love to hear from you. My email is there. To follow on from that, it's worth mentioning that without, I suppose, a own recreational strategy, and it was part of that strategy. And so, you know, support of the department, Fáilte Ireland, this wouldn't be possible. And you can see there in the bottom of your screen different stakeholders that have become involved: Quilcha, Leave No Trace, Mount Tourism, and County Council, and of course our own development company, DN. Further ado, I would love to invite you to come to get involved if you can at all. I'd love to hear from you, and I want to say thanks so much for the opportunity to get to talk to you this evening. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Emma. I know your internet was dropping in and out, but what we might do is just share the slides afterwards for anyone that just missed out on some of that. But it's great to hear about that. So I'll just hand back to Niamh now. Thank you.
Thanks, folks, and I think we're nearly done there with it. I think I've had enough of this WebEx now, to be honest with you. I'll throw it out the window very soon. But I suppose before we go any further, I suppose just to we'll go back and we'll check and see if I'll get poor Elaine's doing all the work here. I'll get down to check and see what kind of if there's any Q&As or comments to be had, and we'll go back to them in a minute. But I suppose before we go any further, I just wanted to just follow on from what Emma said, and it looks fantastic, Emma. It looks like it's going to be a great, very, very busy period for you with all those 4 days of activities. But just to encourage everyone as part of the National Outdoor Recreation Strategy, that there's just a little bit of brief update on different items that have been happening within the actions within the strategy. The strategy itself has 95 actions over the course of 5 years, so there's a lot of actions to be done over the next few years. But two or three, a couple of significant ones are starting now is that the department has recently announced funding for county outdoor recreation plans in each of the counties, and there'll be a fund of money available to help support development of these plans. And also that recently there was new county outdoor recreation officer positions announced that'll be supported through Sport Ireland in a number of counties around the country. This is just a pilot initiative, and hopefully in time it may be rolled out further if depending on how it progresses. But also just to encourage any member of the community or committees that are on the call here that in time county outdoor recreation committees will be set up, as well as stakeholder forums in each of the counties. These will be essential for the work of the development of each of the plans, and for implementing what the county outdoor recreation plans will be about. And so I suppose it's a great opportunity for people to get actively involved, and these county outdoor recreation plans will determine really the focus of the county outdoor recreation activities in the developments in the counties for the next number of years. So as soon as these committees and stakeholder forums are established. I would encourage everyone to participate as much as they can in them, if the opportunity arises and you have if you have the ability to do so. Going back to the MOU, you know, we as we keep saying, this is a voluntary agreement. It would be fantastic if it's a resource for anyone who needs it, and we would encourage anyone who wants to use it to use it. And but yeah, and if nothing comes out of it, it'll be a way of engaging with your local development company and your local community group and building relationships about it. You know, we fully understand that for us to deliver the walk scheme, it takes a lot of different bodies to do so. It's not just one entity that does it. We're all we each play a different role in it, and we appreciate all the work that all the different areas between the community groups to the local development companies and the rural recreation officers and even users, and each of them play a significant role in establishing trails and maintaining and managing them over the years. Now I'm fairly conscious that we're well over time, guys, and if I think at this point in time, if there's any additional questions, maybe we just put up the walk scheme email address and maybe just ask people to put in any comments or questions on that. There's no problem whatsoever. We'll record these questions that are put up here, and we'll just send around a Q&A answer on those, if you don't mind. But if there's anything outstanding or something that you don't want to put up on the chat there, just get on to us directly. There's no problem with that at all. I appreciate your time. It's a Wednesday evening, and we've taken up enough of your time as it is. Hopefully we were able to provide some information for you and of some benefit to you. I suppose we'd encourage people to actively engage with your RROs and with the trail management organisations, and work together to working together will achieve a lot more than working individually. So if this MOU can be of some use to someone, all the better. It's if it can give some clarity to people, that's the whole basis for it, at this point in time. So obviously it's as we keep saying, it's a voluntary document. It's not on a legal basis, but it hopefully has been done just to try and assist people as much as they can. So I appreciate all your time, guys, and thanks for all your help in delivering the walk scheme on our behalf. We really appreciate it, and best of luck.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much, guys.